Welcome to Learning by Doing. This is a podcast about the process, about exploring people, exploring the development professionally, creatively, and personally. Each week, my co-host and I bring people on and talk about how they got to where they are, how they fail, and what they're going to do to keep going.
In other words, if he doesn't realize that the true reality in which he lives is the present moment now.
So this week, I'm joined by Pascale. Pascale is a friend of mine, someone I've played football with back in 2000, let's say 3, something like that, a little later than that, I think 2006, I guess. And I played football with her for I think 3 years, and then path diverged, and then I met up back online. I saw that she was going over to Vancouver and did a lot of stuff there, and there's a lot of parts in between that I'm missing and I want to figure out about. And now she's getting involved in the police. She went to the army, and there's a lot that build up there that I want to learn about. So Pascale, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you very much. I'm really glad you guys invited me on your show. It's really a pleasure for me to be there.
Hey, good to see you. So as I said, I really missed a big part in between. And also I'm here. I'm joined by George.
Hey everybody.
And we're just going to talk about this process of what happened in between, from you leaving Blainville, or you were situated in Saint
Lorraine.
Yeah, you were in Lorraine. That's right.
Yeah.
And from
Yes.
leaving Lorraine to going in the army, your specialization, then moving into British Columbia, getting involved with the Vic PD over there and all that. There's a lot of stuff I want to hit on, so it's really interested. So, you finished high school, and then did you straight out of high school head towards the army? What was the idea, or was the plan there? You kind of chose that as a thing, or how long ago, or how early on did you know you wanted to go join the army?
Well, it's like Charles, like where we raised, it's like really like suburb lifestyles and everything, and we have a really great life when you live on the North Shore of Montreal. And I was going to school and everything, and I was just seeing that my interests were really like different than the people I was with. So when I literally had like the career day at school, when all the CGEP comes and everything, I
Yeah.
saw RMC was there. Yeah, and I went to them and I was like, so like, what's the deal? Like, what do you offer, kind of, and everything? And they told me, they're like, well, do you know that you can be part-time military and going full-time to school? And that just blew my mind. I was like, I don't know why like not everybody's signing up for this. That for me sounds like the best deal ever, like you're 17 years old kids and you're like, yeah, you can be part of the military and still going to school, and we're gonna pay you to go to school. So I was like, wow, that's such an awesome opportunity. Like, and nobody that I know really do that. So like that's kind of like my thing. So like I pretty much jumped 2 feet into it. Right at 17. I remember like I went to my graduation, and then you have like the ball and everything at the end of the year, and the next morning I was already on my way to Quebec City to go to my basic training.
Wow.
And
So straight
yeah,
out of
so
it.
that's, yes, exactly, straight out of it, just jump like 2 feet into it. That's it. Yeah.
Okay, and did you know where you wanted to go school wise? Because you said you're doing part time army and then full time school. School wise, did you have an idea of what you wanted to go into, or is it just, all right, let's do army and then we'll figure out up next after that?
No, I kind of always knew I wanted to be in involve either like politic, economic, or maybe justice. So like I really wanted to go to Vanier in international studies, doing like a social science 2 years program.
Yep.
But so yeah, that was my main thing. Like even before the army, the military, and everything. Like I was already like planning. I was like, no, I want to go to Vanier, study in English, and get into something that is like social science, but more oriented towards like politics or something. I could be working maybe at the UN later or something like that. So that
All
was
right,
my
so
main goal.
really early on, and also, I mean, you touched on that, but you wanted to go in English, and it's for a lot of us being French Canadians, it's a challenge. It's really hard to say like, okay, I'm gonna completely deroot myself and try to go into something that I don't know. I'm trying from really hard, and I didn't know you. I didn't when I knew you. You didn't speak English from what I know, and how hard was that transition of getting into a program or getting into something that is more international and having to really challenge yourself to learn a new language at the same time as learning new material?
Yes, it was a challenge right away for sure. Like happily, I just spent my whole summer with the military, so I met like a ton of like people that speak English, like Canadians outside of Quebec, and so I practiced so much with them the whole summer. But still, first year in CJEP, like 17 years old, right off the bat in English. Yeah, it was quite a challenge for me. Yeah, of course, like that makes it harder for sure. Yeah.
All right. And I really want to hit on the fact that you were juggling studying and the army. I mean, how much of it was it split? Was it you do army during this amount of time and then you go to school, or was it like separated in seasons, separating in days, or how did it work?
Well, that's the thing that is so great about the reserve is that like you literally pick and choose. Like I know like at the beginning when I was doing like my basic training for 2 months right after high school, for me it was like the greatest thing ever. Like after I finished those 10 weeks, I was like, okay, I want to do that full time, but I still had to go to school because I had committed to go to school. And for my parents there was like no, I like there's no way a 17 years old kid who just spent like 10 weeks doing army stuff for the first time, like that you're gonna do that for the rest of your life without even like trying and path towards like more education and things like that. So I was like, okay, yeah. So at first I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do like summertime. I work with the Navy, the reserve, and then during school time I will go to school for fall semester and winter semester, and go back to work with the Navy in the summer. But I was like fighting constantly that I ended up doing like, oh, fall semester, then winter semester, then oh, I like the Navy for the summer, I like it too much, then I do it over the fall semester instead of doing going to school, and then go to school back for winter, but just can't wait to be back with the Navy. And then I did that for like 2 years, and after that was like, okay, like there's no point for me to not really be like evolved in something at 100%. So I'm just gonna like do Navy for now because I'm young and that's what I want to do, and I don't want to be sitting at school and like just
Hmm.
listening right now. That's it.
And what was the appeal? What was the catching thing? Was it the camaraderie, or was it just the sense of patriotism, or what really clung you into saying, I really like what I'm doing right here, right now?
The honestly, it's like suffering together. Like after like
Mm,
and the camaraderie it created. Like I never had that. Like the closest thing I had to relate to when I started doing army was football with Charles. Like the way because we have been drilled so good in football. Like it was such a great organization. The way they say like yes coach, no coach, like you like physical suffering, like that was like okay, that's like football is my job now, you know what I mean? So it was
mm,
like such a goodie, like yeah.
Yeah, I heard a lot of people that have gone through the army talk about that played football as well, talk about the connections that are made there. And there's a show a couple of
Crazy.
years ago on the basic training and how like you get to see inside of basic training and what it looks like, and the amount of links I was making as a football player of like this is what we did. This is playing a sport, but to a level of which you're professional and you're like developed. And I really want to hit on that fact of there is an overlap, and it's how much of football helped you move into the army? You already had the discipline created. You already have a lot of the understanding that you're doing this for a greater good. You're helping other people around you because this is a team. And I know a lot of people that don't understand this fact when they get into the army. And in the show, you see people that, well, I'm here for myself, and you realize that it's a shortcoming. But I want to understand how much of football helped you in that sense.
Honestly, the thing that like I always say it saved me because like I was it literally like it made I feel like it made my basic training 10 times easier because I was already like used like to that, especially with Coach Will like playing on the line. Like it was like the best like coach you can have, that is literally like a military instructor. So like that's literally be it. Like stop complaining, like even if you don't play or like anything, like there's other people that's going to be playing or taking your spot, just because we're doing it for like the sake of the team, you know what I mean, like the bigger picture. Like, and it's yeah, it just teach me so well because I just remember like going through this while I was like really young and like growing up, going from like elementary school to high school. So that was just like, yeah, it was just, I feel it was like programming my
Ingrained, yeah,
brain,
yeah, yeah.
like yeah, yeah,
And I want to bridge it over a bit to my experience of CJEP football, of what you mentioned of you're not playing but you're helping the other people. If you're not
yeah,
a starter, if you're on the practice squad, what you do will impact the people around the field. You have to give your 100%, because even though you're not going to be on Sunday playing, the people that are playing are the people that are you're against you during the practice. And it's the same thing feeling in the army of,
Mhm.
even though you're not the one going out there, if you're not giving your 100% when you're here, the people that are going to go out there are not going to are going to get a lot from your experience as well. So I really like that kind of analogy or overlap that is created.
oh yeah, yes.
So is there anything that you kind of wished you knew when you were doing your basic training? Because now that you have a little bit of a step back and realize, all right, there's these things I could have fixed or could have done better, because it is an intense thing. I mean, if you want to also explain a little bit of what basic training was for you, of just these 10 weeks of doing classes, doing the gun training, doing a lot of those things. Go in depth about the training itself first.
Yeah, sure. So it's like the basic training. For me, it's like I will do it again tomorrow. Like it's so much fun, and it's not when you're there, but afterwards. But
Yeah.
so you arrive there like literally like you arrive there like in a van with like arrive there by yourself. If you're a reg force, it's a bit different because if you're reserve, you're already coming with your unit. Like your unit is literally at the basic training. So like you arrive there and literally the people that are dressed in military uniform, like super intimidating, that just yell at you and like tell you to like pick up your bag, like let's go. Like you're already late for something and you're like, I never did, I didn't do nothing yet. You know what I mean? I didn't drove
Yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah.
Like so like you're already being like, yeah, like the three the three first days I feel like are the hardest because like they keep you in your civilian clothes and they keep you like they keep telling you they're like you're still a civilian, like just understand that, and like you're still being like we look at you, we record you, and if we don't like you, like you're leaving. Like we're not gonna give uniform to so, like they try to crack you down really hard like the first 3 days, especially because you're still like civilian clothes, and they make you do like PT, and like you're supposed to wear like nice clothes, you know what I mean? So and they still make you like do PT in your nice clothes and everything, and so it's like they pushing you and you're like the first 2 days you're like, why am I here? Like why, oh now I'm giving my civilian freedom away, like that's
Yeah.
what it feels like. And after that it's just like building up, building up, building up, like pretty much until week 4 they just want to like break you non-stop, like keep telling you like you guys are too slow, you guys are not good enough, like hey, remember we didn't come and pick you guys come to be choose to be here. And then like it's they run your body over and over again, so if you get injured, like you're really being retarded, because like the more you miss modules and stuff like that, the less chance you have that you're going to be able to have the qualification. So like they pushing you and they're like, are you still injured? Like they're making you almost like feel not bad about you being injured, but like hey, listen, like if we're going to war, there's anything, like you gotta overcome those small stress injuries, because often that's what it is. Like it's people, they're too stressed and like their body's too tense, so um like injuries happen and everything, and it doesn't heal properly. So that, like, that's a big part of it too, you know what I mean? Like it's really hard on your body, but you also have to take really good care of yourself. Like when you have like 5 minutes to go eat at lunchtime, like are you gonna take the hot dog because it's quicker, or you're actually like gonna go make the line that everybody is waiting to have like a real meal? But then if you eat a dog, you're gonna have consequences for that later, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, how can you keep healthy habits and like a certain sanity inside like being nonstop, like being like yelled at, being stressed with timings and everything. Everything is a big deal, you know what I mean? Like you forgot to lock your locker. Like, are you serious? Like you forgot to lock your locker, you know what I mean? Maybe you're gonna have, because of that, your whole team gonna have to carry your old bed for a day, you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
always like team punishment, stuff like that. And they always say, you're gonna see people that are too far ahead and people who are too far behind, and the rest of the platoons are in the middle, and you're gonna start losing people from the extreme. So it's also like, how can you be a team person? You know what I mean? Because if you
Yeah.
don't fit in, then even if you're the best, we don't care. So yeah, that's what it is. I can't stop, like it plays in your head, you know what I mean? Like overcoming that stress, understanding that this is kind of a game, you know what I mean? Like it's not, the army's not gonna be like that all the time. It's just we want you to have those high standards. And after that, you start going more like technicals, like you said, weapon trainings and everything, all those stuff, and that's where the fun commences. Like when they be like, okay, like you guys a bit more. We're gonna start showing you a bit more, like, and you finish that experience, and you develop just an incredible connection with the people you were with, instructors. And at these days that I did my basic training with, we all have that mutual respect, and I feel it's gonna be there for life. And most of them are my best friends for like at the moment, and I'm sure they're gonna be in my life forever, just because what we've been through together, like psychically and physically, like gave us like an incredible bound. And so that's it. That's pretty much the journey. It's just
Yeah.
constant, like,
And
yeah, up and down.
it's that challenging at the beginning of, it seems really intense, but the way it was described to me is, because you're making such a big deal out of everything, you become detail oriented. You start paying way more attention to the small things, because that's what you need. You need someone that will be
Yes.
making sure that everything is perfectly in place, because it's not a place for mistakes. Minor mistakes can have major consequences in the army, and it seems really harsh, but it is kind of necessary to build that ingrained into someone's head of, you're gonna be, you need to be flawless.
Yes. Yeah.
So, in terms of they try to break you, they spend a lot of time trying to change all your habits and everything. What were the different kinds of processes, habits you had to build, or coping mechanisms that you had to establish for yourself to keep yourself moving forward? Like, obviously, the camaraderie is a huge coping mechanism, the fact that you're going through these hardships with other people and all that. Were there many different shifts in how you lived your lifestyle beyond just that you really helped you get through the whole process?
Yes, totally. I think it just literally it changed me, like literally. I what it gives you a confidence, like it gives you a confidence in yourself that I feel like it's the base that every people in the military need, as like a minimum of like confidence you have, and like good you feel with yourself. Like I think like the what really helped me go through this, like they make you really a proud person, you know what I mean? Like, hey,
Mm,
be proud of yourself, be proud of your country, be proud of what you're doing. Like it's not everybody that does that, and I think that's what really helped me to go through it. I was like, okay, yeah, like it's a really honorable thing, so I should be just really happy that I'm going through this and I'm learning all those stuff. So I think that was like being grateful and proud of
mhm.
yourself. Yeah.
Right. Well, from what it sounds like from what you're telling me, they're not breaking you down just for the sake of breaking you down, but they're breaking you down so you can understand how strong you are and build yourself up then to really build that sense of pride and strength within yourself.
Exactly. They're breaking you down to build you up. That's exactly what they do. Yeah.
What was your hardest part for the boot camp in itself? Because you said the beginning was really hard of just getting broken down. Was it anything? Was there anything challenging for the physical stuff or anything? I know you're in shape and you could definitely kill me in any fashion I can imagine. But what was the hardest part for you?
Physically, I think I am not a runner at all. Like my body, like as a female, like if you see me compared to other female, you can pretty see like I'm not a runner at all, like not a runner shape. And there's a lot of running, and I that's not something I did really before. Like before the military, I hated running, like the long distance running and time running. I hated it. So I think that was my biggest thing, like so much running all the time, and then your chin split start to like come up, and your calves always hurt, and like going up hills all the time. I think it's just like not my thing. You know what I think? Like I'm not really good at it, so I have to like I feel like I have to try a bit for that. So that was my biggest thing. I think it was the like so much running. That was
Yeah,
the
because I
hardest,
mean,
like yeah,
in
physical.
in football is a like 10-second intense. You got to go all out
Stop
for
and
10
go.
seconds. And this is, I mean, you played on D line and O line, so those are two very intensive. It's a one hit, and you got to stick to it. You got to be really strong for that. Let's say 3 seconds for the first contact, and then stick to it for a little bit. There's no long distance. There's no there's cardio, but it's not hyper long cardio. So I can see why that would be a problem. And it's really just like that. You have to do that pivot. They bring everybody to, this is the standard. If you're good at running long distance, you're still gonna have to do the weightlifting. If you're good at like, they bring you to a basis where everybody has to do the same type of thing.
You know, because you are as strong as your weakest link. So they want to make sure that everyone is on that same plateau at least, right?
Then I think the thing is that like overcome and adapt, and you're gonna really you see it really quickly that like the guys that are like the lifter and like the more power guy and that are a really good runner, they just gonna be utilized in like totally different jobs. You know what I mean? So that's like where like when we train together and we run, we have all have to like be to that level. So like we push each other, we run together, like we keep like a platoon a speed, a pace. But so like we try to like everybody, like everybody has to like go at the same time, and like we try to push people. But then it just comes down to when we have different tasks, and or strong runners, people who's gonna like run long distance, more endurance. But we also know the guys that are the strongest or girls who are the strongest and things like that. So you just down to like, yes, we all train to like be at that level, and like we push ourselves, but at the end of the day, like we also take advantage that everybody have their strength and weakness, and we try to utilize it as much as possible.
Yeah, and speaking of this kind of tasks and everything, you finished your basic training, and then what specialization did you go to afterwards? Did you know already you kind of wanted to go into? You mentioned the Navy a couple of times, and if I'm not misunderstood, this is what you went into.
Yes, that's the thing. So when you join the military, you have to pick a trade before you go to basic training. So it's kind of tricky because you don't know anything about the military or the Navy or the Air Force, and you have to like pick a trade by just like what you can find yourself online, or if you know people. But so me, I was like Navy because I was like I didn't even know Canada had a Navy. You know like what I mean? So I was like, wow, like I really want to I really want to see what is this. I didn't know Canada had a Navy, so I applied for a job that is more like physical. So like it's bosun, so you drive a boat and shoot guns. But apparently there was too many bosuns for the quota that were like coming in during that year. So I got picked as I picked to it's information operator. So like naval combat information operator. So like everything that is radar information coming in. Like we call us usually the eyes of the ship, because we know like everywhere we are related to. We help a lot with navigation. We help a lot with the intelligence part of the house. We're really big into like missions, play with radars, information systems, stuff like that. So that's what I choose because I had the choice of all the trades, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. You know what I mean? And um, also do a personality test, so they try to like push you towards more traits than others. And so I end up with that trait that I had really no idea what it was, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so that's what I went to do after my basic training. Yeah,
Okay, and I'm guessing that's how you ended up in BC, because if I remember correctly, that's where the base is located for Navy.
exactly. Yes, that's
Uh,
we have two bases, one in Halifax, one in Victoria.
Okay, and how is that moving when you moved away for the 10 weeks? I mean, beginning, you're still going to live on your own. I don't know if that was the first time you were going to live on your own, doing the basic training.
Yep.
Okay, and so you went living on your own for 10 weeks, and then as soon as that's done, you're getting shipped out to BC, completely away, and living in a new city in a language that you kind of started to learn and are getting through. So how did that go?
The 10 weeks, I graduated. So I was not a recruit anymore. I was actually like the lowest rank, ordinary seaman, that's called. And then after I went back to school, I did the fall semester, the winter semester. I did my course. It was in Halifax at the operations school there, and it was quite yeah, it was quite shocking to it was my first time outside of my province, really like going to live somewhere outside of it, and it was such a special experience for sure. Yes, the moment I was allowed to go on the ship, like I will take that opportunity. So I finished my trade course, then I did my firefighter and flood course. And in the Maritimes too, I had like few knowledge about that area of the country. And yeah, so it was quite a shock when I got there at like 18 years old, not even old enough there to drink, you know what I mean? uh, so yes.
And then, from my understanding, you still went to school after, or like, did you come back to Montreal to do school, or did you stay in Halifax and did school there?
Right after, so my next semester after Halifax was the winter semester.
Okay, so you came back here. After going back and forth with school, you decided that that was it. School was not going to work out, or it wasn't your thing, and you wanted to go full out on joining the Navy. And so, is that when you pivoted to go into BC?
Yes, so after doing like school, so like going to Halifax, deploy, going back to school, going back to Halifax, deployed again. At that time, I already had a couple of friends that went from being part time and doing what I did, like school, work, and then Navy. And they all decided to take a contract, but they all took it on the East Coast. And I never like sailed on the West Coast before, or really like spent time on it. And I was like, I want to go full time too, because like I have so much fun doing this job, and I love it so much. But I want to see the West Coast, because I always wanted to, honestly, to visit BC and the West Coast. So it was just for me the perfect opportunity to do like the job I really liked, and I just started and was really getting into it, and to do it full time on the West Coast, and being moved by the military. And so it was just such a great opportunity for me. I was like, yeah, I gotta jump on that.
All right, and I want to kind of know, what was your day to day at the beginning in Halifax? I mean, you were there, you're deployed. What is your day to day like? What do you do while you're there?
You mean when I work here in BC?
Well, before, so I'll kind of go up to that. In Halifax, while you were deployed in Halifax, what was that like?
Oh, that was awesome. So I had like I'm really lucky because I sailed on the last destroyer we had in Canada. So that was my first deployment. Went to Europe, and my job is I'm sitting in that big operation room with maybe 30 or other people, and I'm the person that is like constantly looking at the radar picture, what's around us and things like that. And I always help bring in information between like common team and other unit that are with us. I'm always constantly having communication with outside unit that we're sailing with our the captain here. I can hear him. The officer of the watch who's driving the boat. I'm literally sitting there and in that big ops room with a ton of people that do work on multiple system, operational system, and my job was really more like, yes, information, building up the picture, who's around us, what kind of ship, things like that, like really digging like every time, like trying to find the information, what kind of boat is it if we don't know, what they are transporting, things like that. So a lot of research of like what's going on around us, what the next sport's gonna be like always thinking, preparing, gathering information. So but I was really junior at that time, so mainly like I was like mainly just being like tasked by the older people to do things and help them with it, but I was not really like in the game, and I felt like I didn't really had a big understanding of what was really going on. I was just like excited by every time, oh, there's a big ship outside, if you guys want to go see it. I was like, oh, like 18 years old, and like you see submarine for the first time and like jets and things like that. So it was just like but the second sail I did, that's another class of ship, and then I was really like in the game, like working with the Americans constantly to find drug boats.
That's really interesting. And then from that, your deployment out in BC, you said it was a contract that was offered. You took that as an opportunity to move out. What became your day to day when you moved to BC?
I was coming out from a drug operation, right? So like really high readiness and everything, and like, okay, let's go, like you're in the game. And then I moved to BC, and the ship I was assigned to was not sailing before the summer. So it was like 6 months of just preparing the ship. So it was like totally like the other side, like the other side of the mission of the preparation before. So it was like really slow pace at the beginning. Yeah. So that's yeah. So it was such a contrast, right? So that was what my beginning in BC was.
And is that because of that gap or that space of time that you had? Is that how you got involved with the Vic PD or the Victoria Police Department?
That came really after, like like I spent those first 6 months in BC here building up the ship, and then I deployed, and I deployed 3 times with that same ship, and I got really in because I was working often with the American, right? So I was like really interested into like boarding party, what it's like really the police of the water, like when we're the those kind of operation, we have people with us, and they just go on those small boats and they jump on the drug boats and they do the intervention and seize the drugs. So I was like really getting interested because I was always like feeding them information, and working hands with them. And I was like, guys, I wish I could add that like physical part to my job. And the opportunity presented to me to go on the course for Canada. And so that's when I really started of having like a grasp on law enforcement, and I got interested in getting involved with the police.
Okay. And you said you were, as you said, the boarding party. That course came through from the Army, and then did you get involved on actually going out on boarding party busts and or other events?
No, after, so I was done doing drug operation at that point when I did my boarding party course. I never got the chance to actually go out there and do any kind of stuff with that guy, but I wish. But that still, it was just like, okay, now I see like the operational side of it, so like where the information coming, like how you build around them, and now the I got that formation where it's like they actually teaching me how to enforce law on the water. You know what I mean?
And with the overview we got of your end to end, obviously the Army, the military, police force is a very male dominated field. Did you ever feel like there were extra hurdles as a woman going into these fields that the men never had to cross into, or did you feel that there was such a camaraderie it was pretty seamless across the board, and there weren't any extra complications for you.
I always felt like they were more impressed because it was like, oh, women can do that too. You know what I mean? And
Mm,
it's not in a mean way at all. It's just I think because
right.
for so long we didn't give the woman the experience of like, hey, you want to be a badass? That's okay too. There's a place for you in their military, and they started doing it, and it's like I just feel like they just realizing more and more like, okay, we have some actually like hardcore girl, and I think you just feel like they're really proud about it, and the more they found out that there's girls like that, the more like they really recognize it and everything, and they push in for that, and it's a good thing, I think.
Hmm. Yep, absolutely, totally agree.
And how is your experience working with the police? Because Crime Watch it's a different thing, right? It's a very different thing than being on the waters. And like, yes, you're still informant in some cases, but were you doing some stuff on the field, or how was your involvement with Crime Watch and the police?
Yeah, my approach with the police is entirely from a community side of it, because I'm a volunteer, you know what I mean? So they really pushing for us to like connect with the community all the time, you know what I mean? Just like everybody is like smiling, you know what I mean? Like really connecting with the community. So that's like that's how I the eyes I got to see it, you know what I mean, was really from like somebody that is in the community and want to help my community, and one of the way I can do it is by volunteering with the police and by still helping it.
And yeah, so you said you're involved with community stuff, and it is a big part of policing, is making sure that you know who you're working with and all that. And it kind of brings me back to how we connected back. And I saw a post that you made of this whole idea of defunding and this whole problem of kind of just setting it as a major statement of defunding will solve the problem. The way I understood it and the way defunding was explained to me is defunding the police. It's a big word, but defunding just means removing some funds and setting them to be given to specialists so that police can concentrate on doing police work, which shouldn't be taking care of the homeless, taking care of spousal abuse problems, taking care of psychology of some plate pull, and a lot of those things. And those are redistributed to specialists that can do that. And then having the police take care of crimes and of important things that they can have more training in. And this is where I kind of want to bridge those two of, because you have a police force that is currently doing a lot too much, they don't have this sense of community that you're trying to create, that you're trying to build with being a voluntary for the Victoria PD. How much of it do you think would help and would hinder or hurt for the defunding problem of it would allow for better communities, but it was also put a lot of strain on the current people and the current systems that don't have the training capabilities and don't have the funds to train the people they have?
Yes, 100%. Well, I'm honestly I'm all about integrating people from like with their training. You know what I mean? Like social worker, psychologists, like everybody that can deal with better with like homelessness and drug abuse and all those things. The thing is, we're already like I'm all about doing that, and that's an excellent idea. The thing is, I think if those people are to be working with the police and like and dealing with those situations, because you know what I mean, how many times like right here in Victoria I see situation where homeless or somebody who's intoxicated, it become really close to the violent dialogue, you know what I mean? It escalate pretty quickly. So I think we will have to find a way to integrate all those social workers, psychologists, everybody that help those task force. We'll have to find a way to integrate them to the police department or police force in some way, because you can't just go out with the task force and just be like, oh, I'm the specialist, let me do what I do best, you know what I mean? Like, what if it come to violence and everything? It got to have a kind of understanding going on in their task force of what kind of situation we deal here with, and are we on the same page and the same ground? Because do we want to also like people that become social worker, like not all of them are ready to be put in situation as the police get put in, and that's why I think it's incredible, like kind of selfless job at the end of the day, because they work so much, and they deal so with a lot of things. So like for example, here in Victoria, we don't have enough police officer, and that's one of the problems. So like maybe if we have more police officer are less tired, you know what I mean? Also less tired, more people, that's also participate in the fact that you make better decision making. So I think it's just a lot of things to put together, but I really don't like when people jump to conclusion of like defund the police, because what about we found them more because we actually add those people to the units, and now we have to give them training and salary, right?
Yeah, and you mentioned that in the conversation we had prior to this podcast of the major problem, the thing that we need to hit on is the training of it, because a lot of people are undertrained, and you mentioned that when you saw police officers use their weapons, use the guns and all the trainings that you have a military training, so it is way more intense, but shouldn't it be kind of required? And I want to get your point of view on this of how do you feel you can improve the training given to those policemen so that they have the weaponry, but also the training that goes with it?
And that's really hard to do. And like, just I want to make a small specification here. It's like, because I'm a reservist, I work with a lot of guys who are cops, and they train us on our weapons and everything. And those are the one who telling me, like, they're like, oh, when police go through a drills, like for example, the little community police that he works with and go to the range with, he's like, the way they do their drill, like it's not standardized at all, you know what I mean? And maybe that department does that like this, but the other department in another community does that another way, and it's still not okay, because firearms should be a standard, you know what I mean? Like all the time, like when it comes down to firearms, it should be a standard for everybody, because you're always going to go back to like your lowest skill of training. So like, and it's for me, it's like, it's of course like you do that through like training and everything, but I think that the thing is we have to stop treating those jobs like they are just like a civilian job, like you go home after work and that's fine, you know what I mean? Because that's not what it is. Those people are enforcing the law in so many ways, and the things they see, and the stress, and the lack of people, and the lack of like training and support. I think maybe we have to do a reform in the law enforcement or police in a way that that we get a standard for. It should be countrywide, what I mean, you know what I mean? Like a job like police, I think it should really be countrywide. And if our CMP has to honestly like be kind of the force over looking over, like just make sure the training is like the same guideline for like all the province, then let's be hit. But like it has to stop being like one community does this way, SQ does this way, SPVM does this way, you know what I mean? Like it's not realistic, and then you end up with like, oh, this city is really bad cops, they're really rude and everything, and you just feel like it's a common thing between like that city, but it's just the lack of training and probably their leadership or the way it's enforced, you know. And that's not that much power should be left in the hands of like a small group of people, you know what I mean? Like, and they should not decide like the values of like the police in a big city like Montreal. It should be like, no, you're a police officer like in Quebec or in Canada. Like those are the guideline, like the values you gotta.
So recognize that, you know, amidst all the conversations around, for a lot of different police precincts and all that, it's a system that's not supporting them or creating that context that they need to succeed, right? Like you said, let's standardize the training so that there's no guesswork between this region and this region. Just let's make sure that we have the proper processes in place so that everyone is on a proper standard. And like you said, with firearms, it's just one of those things that we need to be at a certain bar.
Yes.
No. Yeah.
100%, yes. That's exactly what I think. It's like I just like let's stop treating that like it's like just another company, another office, you know, and another CEO who decides what are the guidelines for his people. That's not it. Like it's an incredible job, but like it comes with a lot of responsibility.
Hmm.
Yeah. And the new kind of thing that was popping up is we mentioned training, but it's also the fact that you can become a policeman in a fairly short amount of time. And my sister just finished law school. Took her forever. She's the
Yes.
one not enforcing, but taking care of laws and creating laws, and then people enforcing it are doing it very quickly and being able to get out on the street and be in positions of high power without really having understanding of what they're holding as the power.
It's like it's exactly it always what I understood from like people who went through that path is like you're going to normal CJEP, you know what I mean, with like other people, like you're just one another young person that want to go into the police force, you know what I mean. And then and correct me if I'm wrong, because I didn't do that path, and I'm sorry if I mistake it, but so yeah, so you go do that for 3 years, right? And then after that you go to the police school for 3 months, if I'm right.
I don't know the numbers from that
Okay.
point on. I don't, but it is too small. That's my perspective of it. It's too small.
Yes, and it should not be like, oh, hey guys, we gotta send you to Nicolette to the police school so you can go do retraining. You know what I mean? Like that shouldn't be like unit pushing for their people to get like qualifications redone and like training done. No, no, no. It should be like in the system. Like, hey, this qual is expired. You're redoing that course.
Yeah.
Let's go and checking up on are you up to date in your training? Like, are you doing, like, are you working out? Are you taking care of yourself? Are you in the mental health green, you know what I mean? Like we need to start treating them like they're soldiers going on an operation, you know what I mean? But because that's what they do every day out there. They have a weapon and they are accountable for a lot. So
yeah, and I think that the major point we can get out of this is there's a lack of accountability. Of they're not followed through with their training, their mental health, their physical health, and a lot of these things are then when you pass this X amount of months or time at Nicolette, whatever happens. And that's kind of where there's a fallout of there's a lot of good people, a lot of people that are doing good things. I know a lot of people. I went to John Abbott. They have a police tech like program, and there's a lot of people that are awesome, but they're still going to be those kind of people that are able to get through. And without willingness, without being the one that are like, I'm going to try to do this for the wrong reasons, it still end up sometimes falling short or doing some bad things. You've been trying to reach out. You've been trying to get a round table going. I saw that you posted about this. And it is very important that you don't take whatever you feel is the justified or the correct opinion and just run with it. You need to be okay with changing your opinion, and this is why I brought you on, because we had different opinions. When I saw your post, you were completely on the other side of what I was saying, and we reached out, we talked to each other, and we found a middle point. And we realized that it's not about defunding, it's about funding in the correct way and keeping accountable. But it's the same thing with someone that it's the same thing with someone that wants the opposite of you. The opposite doesn't mean wrong. It just means that maybe your opinion is also too far on one side, and you need to talk. You need to talk to each other. This is my goal for this podcast for so many things, but just talk to people. And I really appreciate it when I saw your post of reaching out and trying to understand other people and trying to get the point of view of other people. There's a lot happening right now in the world. And if we just sit down and take our opinion as truth, we're going to lack the follow through and the push that we're going to need for this to continue and move forward in a healthy manner.
Yes, hey, I really like that. Yeah, that like I'm so glad every time I meet up with young people like you, because like that's it. That's how we're gonna change things and makes it better by having those conversations. You know what I mean? And understanding where you come from, where I come from. You know what I mean? Like because we all live different life experience. We all been through different paths. We all met different people. We all been different place. You know. But at the end of the day, I feel there's a common ground for all of that in the middle, where it's just like we always got to look at the two sides and find that common ground. Yeah.
George, anything to add on top of it all?
Well, naturally, thank you for your time in the military and for your service. Obviously, that's much
Yeah,
appreciated.
100%. You are
Thank you for
doing
your
the-
support.
Yeah.
And but naturally, given I just want to make sure that it's known that given all these tough times we're going through right now, obviously there's a lot of conversations around the military, the police force, and all that. I think we can't forget that at the end of the day, we're all people. Right now, there's some people hurting, and they just want to make sure that they're heard. And on the other end, there's some people just trying to do the best that they can. So I think we just need to hear. We need to open our ears, listen, and just really try and move forward to a point where everyone feels like they're doing okay.
Yeah. That sums it up very well. Well,
Yeah.
Pascale, thank you for joining me, and George,
Hey,
on
thank
this episode. It was really enlightening.
Thank you so much.
A great conversation, and it was a lot of fun catching up. So
I would just want to say, well, thank you so much for giving me that opportunity. And yeah, it was really refreshing talking with you guys, and it was awesome. Thanks so much.
Is there anything you want to plug? Anything that you feel like you want to say to people and try to get them to start either a conversation with you and get their opinions? Because I know that you want to do that. And is there any place people can reach out?
Yeah, well, sure. The only thing I want to say is like we're all awesome, and like the moment we're gonna realize like all ourselves and really like understand like, hey, like I'm a strong person, you know what I mean, and like take on accountability and everything, we're all gonna do great things. So like I just want people to keep honestly believing in themselves and like go out there and be the best of your character 100% and do good. That's it. That's all I want to plug.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on, and until next time.
Hey, thank you very much. Bye, guys.
Bye. This concludes the episode. Thank you for listening. Both the intro and outro songs were songs of mine, and the link can be found in show notes, as well as a link to everything that was mentioned during this episode. We'll be back again next week.